Good day to you, everybody. We are here today discussing Salonpreneur Magazine Winter Edition with the lovely Phil Jackson, whose article is about his specialism, actually, not pantomimes, but about memberships. And he's on page 75 of the Winter Edition. Memberships is how I first met Phil many, many years ago,
Yep.
and first came across Phil. And it's his kind of golden egg. It's like about this is his central thing that he's always been known for.
Absolutely.
So Phil, what is, and let's just start with the basics. What is a membership and how does it work in a salon?
So I find it kind of helpful to think about memberships and subscriptions, and we can use the terms interchangeably when we're marketing, but in my mind, it makes it a lot clearer. So a membership to me is like a gym membership. You pay a
Yeah,
subscription, you get unlimited access. You can go to the gym as often as you want to.
yeah,
And there might be restrictions around certain days and times that you can use your membership, but it's kind of an open access. Whereas a subscription is more like a magazine subscription in that you pay a certain amount and you know exactly what you're going to get month after month after month. So in a salon, some services work really well. The one thing I would say is a membership, an open membership, is much, much easier to sell. If you can tell someone they've got as many haircuts as they want, that's a
yeah,
lot easier than saying you get 8 haircuts a year.
yeah,
So it's a lot more attractive. And some memberships work really well for an open membership. And that I would include most hair services, most waxing services. But what you wouldn't want is an open membership for something like massage
no,
because it could get quite unprofitable. There's no limit
yeah,
to the number of memberships somebody could have. You can't say, well, for health reasons, you don't need another
yeah,
massage. And also, you'd be knackered.
yeah,
So, a lot more of the beauty services we would tend to do on a subscription. So, things like facials, things like massage, all of the holistic therapies I would put on
yeah.
a subscription rather than a membership.
Mm-hmm.
And essentially, what we're trying to get at is we want a stream of retainer income
Yeah,
because all salon businesses have a flow and a season. We have busy times and quiet times. And that's quite stressful. It makes it hard to plan, it means that we're starting from zero every month, puts a lot of salon business owners in a place of anxiety month after month. So, what
yeah,
we're trying to do is just get some retainer income, some reliable, steady income month after month that just drips into the business and takes some of those peaks and troughs away and just kind of smooths out the takings a little bit.
yeah, absolutely. Because I know in the article, and I know it's something, I mean, I went through your training, one of your programs, years and years ago.
Mm.
Um, and so much of it does hinge around that thing of, like, the peaks and troughs we have through our industry
Mm.
are huge. And for some people, they do have a fairly level playing field. If they're fully booked all the time, it's fairly level.
Yeah.
But we know that there are particular points in the year when everything just drops off.
Yeah.
And this is a way of kind of protecting yourself from that, so that, I mean, I know you sort of talk about like the 25th of the month of like when it, or you just suddenly go, oh my God, I've had 6 cancellations last week and someone's just cancelled for next week and I've just suddenly lost £400 worth of income.
Absolutely.
And this kind of helps to alleviate that. It is usually like a very fear-driven anxiety of what you're
Mm.
going to do to pay your bills.
Yeah, I used to call it first of the month anxiety because it
Yeah,
was always is there enough in the bank to pay all the direct debits and standing
yeah,
orders and the wages and there seems to be a lot that comes out at the beginning of the month.
yeah,
Whereas, particularly in the early days when we first started memberships, we weren't doing recurring card payments; they were direct debits, and all the direct debits came in on the first of the month.
yeah,
So it just reduced that anxiety
yeah,
overnight, and so it turned the first of the month into our best day of the month.
yeah,
It meant we broke even a lot sooner in the month, and sometimes every now and again, the first of the month was a Monday, and we didn't open Mondays. So the
yeah,
best day of the month was also a day that we didn't even open the salon,
yeah.
and that
Always a
felt really
bonus.
good. And I don't, I think honestly, I believe that salons, every salon business needs some memberships. How
Yeah,
far you take it, how far you want
yeah,
to push that is entirely up to you.
yeah.
But I think everybody deserves a little bit of retainer income and a bit of stability and to reduce that anxiety.
Absolutely. And I think as well, like you make a good point with like the massage stuff, because I know if I had an open massage membership, I'd be probably there 3 times a week.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it isn't. So you do have to think about what goes in and what
yeah.
stays out. And like you say, whether like what, so for you, what would be the difference, like a subscription? What kind
Hmm.
of things would you look, and how would that work? Because obviously when I was working with you years ago, it was like it
Hmm.
was very much memberships. So obviously this is a new angle that you've got. How does that work?
Yeah, I think it's because in my own business, I've moved much more to supporting. Obviously, I still look after the hair guys, and that's my background. But I've got a lot more beauty therapists and beauty businesses on my roster now, and the open subscriptions don't work for a lot of the beauty services. So the memberships work really well for. I mean, I've seen nail clubs. I've seen facial. Some of the most successful ones have been around facial services. There's pretty much any service you can think of, you can build some kind of membership around.
Yeah,
The only thing that I would say is that the ones that don't work so well are where there isn't an ongoing need.
yeah.
So I wouldn't, for example, put together a laser hair removal membership
No.
because apart from a little bit of maintenance here and there,
Mhm.
ultimately we want to get to the stage where they don't need that service anymore.
Yeah,
And the other ones I'm a little bit wary of are anything where you might be encouraging someone to have something that they don't need, but
hmm,
which might actually cause some problems. So I wouldn't really think about something like a Botox membership, I don't
yeah.
think.
Injectables, I think, would be a
Yeah,
challenge.
some of the injectables can be. I mean, if you some of the boosters are okay, but certainly something like Botox, I would probably want to do that. If you want to do a payment plan, that's a different thing.
Yeah,
And this is very much the way that I teach memberships is very much not a payment plan
yeah,
because payment plans require a lot of legislation.
mhm,
Consumer Credit Act and all the rest of
yes,
it. Whereas memberships, we don't have to worry about that. So we've got to make sure that it's very firmly a membership, and that also means that people need to be able to cancel.
yeah.
If they
I was just
can't
going to say that.
cancel, it becomes a credit agreement, and then you've
Yeah,
got all sorts of hoops to jump through.
yeah. This is it, because I think this is one of the things as well. And although obviously you want, and I suppose it's probably one of the only downfalls to it is that people can just go, actually, I now can't afford that. So there's a potential for people to drop out, but then you'd have that loss of clientele if their financial circumstances change. You potentially lose them anyway. So
Yeah.
it's just a way. If it's in their dough, I suppose it's one of those things, isn't it? Like we all have, whether it's Netflix or the gym membership, we all have those things that just kind of sit on our bank account that just go through and are just part of our monthly financials, aren't they? So it
Oh
kind of
my God, yeah, recurring, membership income. We're so late to the table with this compared to so many other. There's nothing you can't get on a subscription anymore. You can get your veg box delivered, you can get razor blades through the post, you can get, like you said, Netflix and all the entertainment channel. Everything's on a recurring.
yeah,
And I don't see why we shouldn't be either. And I never meet resistance from clients. Clients are always really excited and think it's an amazing idea. If I'm going to get resistance, it comes from the salon owner, and they can't figure out how it's going to work. And I understand it's a different way of doing business, and it's okay to feel a bit anxious about that.
yeah,
So what I encourage people to do, if you're feeling a little unsure, is firstly make sure you've thought it through, but secondly limit the number that you've got available. So you can say, we're going to release our new waxing membership, but there's only going to be 10 available.
yeah,
That way your exposure isn't, over the top. You're not going to feel
yeah,
too anxious about 10 customers on a membership. But equally, it makes it easier to sell because there's some scarcity, and that's the biggest
yeah,
problem with memberships. Is by definition they're always there, they're always available. So it's
yeah,
hard to get people to jump in now rather than next month.
yeah.
So if we can say that there's only 10 of those available, suddenly it becomes a bit more desirable, and people jump in and make the decision.
And so how about things like added bonuses and stuff like that? Because I know that there's some setups where you'd have like additional retail maybe built into it, or if for certain things you definitely wouldn't. So how
Hmm.
can people, does it make it easier, do you reckon, for that?
Yeah, the bonuses are what stop it being a discount club.
Mm,
We don't want to build a discount club. It's not supposed to be for your not terribly loyal, not big
mm,
spending clients. So okay, so in my mind, there's a continuum that goes from 1 to 10.
Yeah.
At number 10, you've got your absolute diehards. They will crawl over hot coals to get to
Mm.
you, never miss an appointment, always take the upsell, always take the retail, always bring you a bottle of wine at Christmas. They were the first in after
Favourite.
lockdown. All of those, they're like a stick of rock. You cut their head off and it says your business name all the way through. The memberships aren't for them because they're already profitable. They're already loyal. There's nothing to gain by moving them onto a membership. All you're doing is getting them to pay you in a different way.
Mm.
Equally, though, what we don't want to do is build something for your number ones, which are the ones that only come in when they've been given a gift voucher, or they only come in when they've seen on Facebook that you've got some late availability. They're probably going to other businesses in between. There's no loyalty there. You might not see them for 6 months and then they get a lost client promo and then suddenly they're back in again. We don't want to build memberships for them because to turn a disloyal client into a loyal client is going to take so much marketing effort and probably some big discounts. The memberships are for your number sevens and your number eights,
Yeah.
where you've got a good client and they could be a great client. And
Yeah.
it's those that, and we get them all the time, especially when you're doing stuff like facials, all the hair services. You just look at a client and go, if you would just come in a bit more frequently, we could get a much better result for you.
Yeah.
Perfect,
Yeah.
perfect
Yeah.
example. So we're not building discount clubs, and what stops it turning into a discount club is the bonuses. So what we do is price in, when we're doing the pricing equation, we price in some bonuses for them. Myself, I don't include retail, and the reason for that is we tend to find that your membership clients are the first ones to take upsells and retail anyway.
Mm.
So we don't need to bundle that in. Sometimes we might do a little welcome pack, which kind of gets people in the habit of using your retail. But generally, I don't include retail. But things, and it doesn't need to be bonuses that cost you very much at all. The best bonuses are where you're giving more of what they want.
Yeah.
So if you did a subscription, let's say you're doing a subscription, let's talk about massage. So let's say you're doing a massage subscription and someone can come in once a month, they pay a certain amount and they get their, I don't know, back and shoulder massage.
Yeah.
What you could do is say, but on month 6 and on month 12, to say thank you for being my loyal membership customer, we're going to upgrade you to a full body.
Yeah.
So it doesn't cost you a huge amount because you've already got to prep the room. You've already got, it's not going to cost you more towels or laundry or, couch roll or anything like that. It's going to cost a bit more of your time,
Yeah.
but it stops us having to reduce the price of that regular massage for them. So the best bonuses are giving them more of what they want.
Yeah. So a bit like a reward scheme, when I had my salon, I had a loyalty card, so they'd get a stamp, and at certain points through their card, they'd get additional upgrades and stuff like that. So it'd work in a similar way to that.
Yeah, similar way to that, but what we've got is a very definite commitment that they're going to spend in a certain pattern, which you don't get with a loyalty. To get to stamp number 6, they could take 6 months or 18 months.
Yeah.
So they were getting that reward, even though they might not be terribly frequent and they might not be spending with you regularly. Whereas this way, we're getting that stream of income, and in exchange for that, we give a small bonus. And sometimes it doesn't need to be service based at all. I've worked with one salon. It was a very busy waxing salon, city centre salon, and all of her clients were basically people that were working in the offices around, and they would come in on their lunch break. They didn't really do very much trade in the evenings. It was very much a lunch break, in and out salon. And they had a 48-hour cancellation policy. But what they found was that a lot of their most loyal clients would struggle. If their boss suddenly said, actually, you need to cancel lunch or reschedule because we've now got a meeting, they would fall foul of the cancellation policy. So what we did for their bonus was that their cancellation policy was 24 hours. So if you were a normal client, it was 48 hours. If you were a club member, then it went down to 24 hours. So it didn't actually cost the salon anything, but the benefit to the customer was actually really valuable.
Yeah. That's a really good way of doing it as well, isn't it? Because it's one of those things that you don't think about, because it doesn't actually bring us any money at all, does it?
No.
Really, even if they end up having to pay a cancellation fee, we're still only being paid for what we would have lost out on anyway.
Absolutely.
So it does, yeah. So it's a really good win, that one, isn't it?
Yeah.
And do you find? So obviously you've been at this for a really long time, and so do you find that, like with retail, because I know I've been talking about retail quite a lot over the last couple of weeks, and do you find that you actually increase retail sales because people, because they're coming in, they haven't got to pay you, have they?
No,
So they
no.
feel like they still need to give you something.
Yeah, yeah, it's the law of reciprocity is kicking
Yeah,
in there. So they don't feel like they're paying, which is why they're much more likely to take the retail and the upsells.
yeah,
And they're also, the other bonus with membership customers is they're the most organized.
yeah,
So it's not unusual for, if you sign up, myself, I prefer a 12-month membership, but some people, I appreciate if you're dipping a toe, you might want to do a 6-month.
yeah,
But what they'll do is take out a 6-month membership and then book 6 appointments with you. So they're the
yeah,
most organized. They're the ones that have kind of got the slot that they want locked in.
yeah,
Tend to be the ones that mess you around the least as well. They really are. They will turn into your best clients.
yeah, yeah. And would you give like I mean, obviously that so much of this is about having that recurring revenue every month,
Mm.
but would you ever sort of like consider using buy everything now so that you get like a year's worth up front? If someone wanted to do that, would that still work? I suppose because you could still,
Yeah, so what we do a lot of that around Black Friday. So it
yeah,
would be, you buy a membership, and what we tend to do, is, for Black Friday is they get a 13th month, so they pay for 12 months but get 13,
yeah,
because that then takes them to the end of the year and through the whole year. But we don't get many people buying that for themselves. We get a lot of people buying it for other people. So a husband will buy a
yeah,
year's worth of hairdressing for the wife.
yeah,
And yeah, it's a really nice gift.
yeah. I just think it's such a nice way of working, isn't it?
Mm.
But because it does give you it gives you such a massive safety net, doesn't it? I mean, I
Hmm.
know when I have my premises, I tried to eat when I was setting up, I tried to eke everything out so it was spread out over like the whole month, so
Yeah,
that I didn't have that big impact day. But sometimes it just doesn't work that way, does it?
no.
And if you can't rearrange your own finances, this will work to help you so much.
Yeah, for sure. We've got our business to the stage now where all of the fixed costs are paid. So that's
Yeah,
the rent, the business rates, the fixed part of all the wages, all the utilities. It's all covered by
yeah,
membership income on the first, which feels really good.
yeah.
Um,
And
and then
is that kind of like the base area where you normally go to? Is that, you should be looking into having your membership subscription services that are covering all of that ground stuff, just
it
so
it
everything
it
else can
depends
run.
what you want. It depends what you want out of a membership. So you might want a membership because you want that stability of income. You might not. It might just be that you want to stand out in a
Yeah,
quite a crowded marketplace. And at the moment, memberships still aren't the norm. They're getting there because we're starting to get the software support now.
yeah,
But it's a really useful way to stand out in a crowded marketplace. So if all you're doing is using it as a marketing tool, you don't need many members. You
yeah,
just need to fly the flag that you're a membership salon and make sure you're the first in your town to do it.
yeah,
So we don't need tons and tons of members at all. Or sometimes we use memberships, it's not always about the income. Sometimes it's about steering clients.
yeah,
So I've seen junior teams, for example, where it's usually a lower price membership, but you can come in for, I don't know, unlimited blow dries, but
yeah,
only with the apprentice team or the
yeah,
junior team. So it gets them away from just doing one-off models and into the
yeah,
habit of seeing the same client again and again and again.
yeah,
It means they're not just sweeping up and making coffee all day. So they're a bit more stimulated and
yeah,
motivated. So we can use the membership to steer clients in a certain direction. Or the opposite. I've seen salon owners that are trying to get themselves off the floor. And well, probably about 3 or 4 times now, we've built memberships where you can only see the owner if you're a club member.
oh,
And then what
that's
we can do is limit the number of memberships that are available so they get to start reducing their hours. And then when it comes to next year, we say, okay, we had 25 memberships available and you've got your regulars on there. This year, we're going to take it down to 20. So it starts to push people away from certain columns and into other columns
yeah.
too. So it depends why you want the membership as to how many you need, really.
But I love that, and I think that there's so many owners that want to kind of come off the tools and take that step back so they can focus on the business,
Yeah.
and that is just such a brilliant way of making that transition
Or
because
even
it's
just
not.
on certain services,
Yeah,
I've seen it
yeah,
before. We've had owners before that they're like, I don't want to stop, but I
yeah,
can't do that many massage in a week. So then we put
yeah,
out a massage membership. You can only see them with a massage membership and restrict it
yeah,
to 5. So it just puts a ceiling in
yeah,
a very natural way on the number of a particular service that you might be doing. And the opposite, I know you know a lot about nails, and so you know that it's really hard to pay properly and make really good money on
Mm,
nails in a lot of
yeah,
markets.
yeah,
So sometimes we don't want columns stuffed with nails when they could be doing higher end services. So we'll put a membership in place for the nails. That way we know we're not going to be, you know,
yeah,
stuffing the columns with nails and nails and nails and nails all the time. It leaves
yeah,
some time available for them
yeah.
to do the higher end stuff.
Yeah, because I think, you know, nails particularly, I mean, I've been having a couple of conversations about the fact that they're quite often a loss leader, that they really are very, very difficult to make profit with. And unless you charge like the right amount for you, I mean, you know, you can never say, oh, it should be £50 or it should be £40 because every
Mm,
salon's different. But unless you're charging the right amount to make profit for your business, nails generally are, because we're at the front of the salon, you know, we're normally now desks in that kind of welcome area.
mm,
We are, if we're not there, then we don't always look open. It's a really weird thing, isn't it, nails? And I think if you can make it so that those people that love it, I just saw somebody yesterday actually talking about this on Facebook. They are so busy with nails, but they want to stop doing nails because they know they're not making money and they can be more
mm.
profitable elsewhere. And
Yeah.
so for them, but she's got X number of clients for nails that have been with her for 20 years plus.
Hmm.
Some have other services, some don't.
Mm.
And she knows that if she cuts nails out completely, potentially she's going to lose a lot of income. So she's
Yeah.
got to work out how to.
Yeah.
But if you've got those hardcore, like number 10 clients that love you and will go over hot coals for you,
Hmm.
they will pay you. If you're charging £30 now, they will pay you £40.
Yeah.
And yet, a membership, what a brilliant way of keeping that open and making money for you.
Yeah.
Just being like a foundation to your business, because that's what you kind of, nails is such a good entrance into a business for most women nowadays, because everybody has their nails done. Well, not everybody obviously, but there's huge numbers of people that have their nails done now.
Mm. Yeah, I think the my only I get it as an excuse a lot.
Mm.
So quite often I'll go into a business and look at the business as a whole, and they're kind of struggling to get the average bill up and to get people onto the higher services. And myself, unless you're very good at nails, and can charge properly for it, or you're doing so much that you can start to cut your times a little bit, I think it's really hard to turn a
Yeah,
profit on nails. And it's kind of thrown at me a lot. Oh, but they go on to have other services. And I think when you really dig down, I think that happens less than a lot of people
mm.
think.
Oh, absolutely.
Like the
Most of
situation you're describing, where they, you know, she's had the same clients for 20 odd years, and still some of them are only coming to her for nail. You know, I think it happens less than we'd like
yeah,
to think.
yeah. It is. I know in my business, when I was full service, I started there. I had a following as an nail tech. I did all like massage and holistics and stuff as well. So I had a bit of a following for that. And
Mm,
then as I opened the salon, we then went full service. So we had to build all the facial waxing clients and stuff from scratch.
yeah.
And we most definitely have an overlap. And we had Venn diagrams in lots of different ways going through the business of ones that had that service done.
Mm,
But if they did come to us for nails, most of them, and I would say probably about 75% of them, did not have other services, because nails was the thing they had done. And that's what gave them their, you know, how they felt as a person. It's their visual. And there's a lot of psychology that goes into why nails help women feel more confident and all the rest of it.
hmm.
And so they don't feel the need, because they've kind of fixed that problem. They don't feel the need to have anything else done, or they haven't got the finances to have anything else done. And
I think it's part of that, and I think it's also the I think it was the biggest lesson for me when I started coaching beauty businesses is that the loyalty model is very different. In that, if you, let's say you're going to a hair salon for a cut and finish, and then suddenly you decide you want to try color, you probably wouldn't even think about going somewhere else. But it's not unusual for someone to go to a particular salon for nails, but they might go to a different salon again for waxing. That's not that unusual in beauty, so it's different. And I think also you also become a bit of a victim of your own success, because people see, let's say you've got an amazing following for nails, it's what you're known for, it's what you've kind of put the thumbprint on your business. A lot of the perception is that actually you're not going to be as good as some of those other
yeah,
services, so you sort of become a victim of your own success a little
yeah.
bit. So that cross pollination thing I think is tough, and certainly my message for beauty businesses going forward is just to specialize, like really specialize,
Yeah.
and really nail down what you want to be known about. Doesn't mean you can't do a full service salon, but be an
Yeah.
expert in that one thing.
And it is, and maybe even making your team members be experts in the things that they love doing, because it's
Yeah.
always hard. because as in beauty, you're a generalist, and you have to be able to tick, 10 different boxes of the different sort of like modalities that you do. Whereas in hair, although there's many different techniques, and like obviously you've got cut, you've got color, you've got perms, and all there's many different things that you have to master,
Mm.
but you're still seen as a hair person. Whereas in beauty, you can be a waxer, you can be a facialist, you can be a nail person, you can be a lash person.
Yeah.
And I think once you get that expert status or that specialist status, people do not necessarily lose confidence in you doing anything else, but there's probably that niggle at the back of their head of like, are you able to be as good as you are doing that in every other subject?
Yeah, for sure. But then I suppose the flip side to that is that specialists get to charge.
Well, yeah,
You can charge so much more money as a
yeah,
specialist in anything, whereas a
yeah,
generalist, by definition, is going to be, going to be lower priced.
yeah, yeah. Oh, so much to unpack, Phil, as always.
It's the memberships are my little gateway drug because it leads you into
Yeah,
thinking about strategy and pricing
yeah,
and marketing and all those good things too, because those things have got to be in place to support the membership. And that's kind of my final strong point really is don't even look at memberships unless your pricing's right. If you're worried
yeah,
that you're not priced properly, a membership will just put a magnifying glass on that and
yeah.
you're gonna come unstuck. But if your prices are profitable, then memberships are a no-brainer.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can like obviously you can find out much more in Phil. Phil goes into quite a lot of depth in his article. And
Hmm.
although we kind of scratched the surface on it a little bit today, but I do hope that I know my brain's already going. I mean, I do virtually no treatments nowadays, but I'm really thinking, actually, I really need to reduce the number of reflexology treatments because my hands hurt. And
Hmm.
I'm just thinking that actually, do you know what? If you want that, you've got to have membership. I'm going down that road. My head started, Phil,
There you go.
giving me food for thought.
There you
And I
go.
hope
Sue's,
many.
Sue's Foot Club.
Oh, no. The terrible thing is I actually, it sounds terrible. I really don't like feet, but I can do reflex on it. It's very weird. I had to kind of overcome the foot phobia thing when I was learning, and
Hmm.
yeah, I had to make myself go through that process. But it is like nowadays the thumbs hurt so much, and I've
Mm.
got one. I've got one tonight, and it's like, oh, yeah. So I might just say I'm only going to have 2 clients at a time
Yeah.
because it's just too much.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's enough of me and my reflexology bits of what I do. And I will catch up with you next quarter. Do you know what you're writing about in April? Have you got it sorted? I know you're
I don't want to be too smug, but mine's already written and
I know. I
submitted.
was going to, yeah, I thought you probably would
I can't
be.
actually remember what it's about, but it is written and
Yeah,
submitted.
I know, because I'm sure you were saying when we did this one that you had the next one in the bag. But also, I will
Yeah.
look forward to seeing that in our Google Drive.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
yeah,
it'll be a
okay,
surprise for both of us.
it will. To it. Anyway, thank you so much, and I will speak to you again
Take
in the
care, darling.
spring.